And off we are, crikey, it's very loud, isn't it? And I hope it's clearly audible at the back. Those happen to be listening. We happen to be in Bruges, which is Bruges in English, and welcome here on this last day of March. The city, a long time ago, was a port as well as a market town. And these are the old moats we are taking, a little river known as Raya. That's how you roll the R's, and wish you all in my little dreadnought, as I call it, a wonderful trip. I'll ask you to keep your hands inside the boat on either side, and let's have a look at what they built here. A long time ago, obviously, made by hand to do that. This is part of a mansion, but the craftsmanship of those days, I mean, have a look for yourselves. There was no lack of any inspiration. Let's wave, everybody knows it. What an enthusiasm, crikey. Magic. Same thing here, you can't believe it. Anyway, something amazing is that steeple, which you can't miss. I call it a medieval rocket. Built at the cost of how many human lives? That's another question. The Church of Our Lady is the very place where there's been a sculpture by Michelangelo for ages. A Virgin and Child of white Carrara marble, that and countless other works of art. And I'm sure you can easily imagine. Swans were here long before these silly motorboats, as you can imagine. And by the way, they are monogamous, not monotonous, of course. The ancient brick buildings seen over there are part of a hospital, at least a former St. John's. Knowing its history spans 8.5 centuries, so it's a museum in the meantime, another place you ought to go and see. Closed, I'm afraid, on a Monday. Open again tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll have a look at the shape of chimneys and at the pitch of the roofs, how sheer, how steep they are. The point is, houses were thatched, so the steeper your roof is, the sooner dry, obviously. And it's the fact they're built to last, whether in or out of water. But there's roofs, the angle, and the chimneys. And a coot. As bold as a coot. I you glad to be here?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is some kind of reaction. I'm glad to hear that. Imagine this in the pouring rain for a change. Please open those. March has been very dry here, incidentally. I wonder, but I'm sure so do you, whether those buildings, the new ones, will stand as these. We all, surprisingly, know the answer, don't we? Oddly enough. As you might have noticed, the bridges get gradually lower. You don't quite know what to expect, do you? Are you ready? The water, fortunately, isn't tidal. Imagine if it were tidal. And it's low. Lower on that side, incidentally, as you'll soon realise. There isn't much clearance. Notice the quill here, and then over there. What remains in way of space? Have you missed it? There is some kind of reaction. Am I keeping you awake? I love plastic pipes. Wonderful, aren't they? In a city like this, on us. Lord have mercy. If you'd like to know that building, nothing really interesting, was a brewery. Glad to hear that, well, that's for you. And then a place which deserves to be known is beyond doubt the Beguinage. A convent, its way in is found upon the next bridge, over there, beyond that blooming shrub, to starboard. Ladies, the ladies who lived there were lay sisters. Yet nowadays, Benedictine nuns live in that haven of peace. It covers acres and it's something you'll get to see. Mentioned 800 years. And there are horses too, as well as carriages. Let's keep an eye on those dear animals, only fair enough.
Where's the animals? Animals?
A fascinating piece of ancient architecture restored a couple of years ago, facing us over there, the lock-keeper's house. Now beyond the same dwelling you find a stretch of water known as Lake of Love. Well, that's a charming name given to a small harbour, where the water level is slightly higher than it is here. So we'll be turning round eventually, but there's no other choice anyway. And heading this time, like all the others, to the north of the city, which means heading to the North Sea, the main direction. Now before turning, notice the little houses beyond the trees, or the shrubs facing us, they all belong to the convent I've just mentioned. Have a look at the shape of their chimneys. And the river simply crosses the Beguinage that direction. There's only one remaining lock, as you'll soon notice. These boats have no keel, so the wind drifts us off, you see. Like a matchbox on the water, perhaps. Would you fancy a refreshment? It's fancy. Well, that item's an oxygenator, of course. More and more electric notes. And more chimneys were to mention the scene of the house beyond those birches on that side. See those two chimneys? They remind me of the head of a barn owl. farm owls in the area. There's 2 chimneys. And those are supposed to be wild ducks. Anything but wild, aren't they? Enjoying a little time of that. That muddy patch will turn into grass again. But it wasn't muddy until 4 months ago. And fast asleep on one leg, have you ever tried yourself? What an amazing sense of balance. What can we as humans? More chimneys worth mentioning as seen on that side of the river. We all know that hands need each other as expressed in that sculpture, that icon there. You really got to keep your eyes peeled here, there's so much to observe. You've also got modern houses, well that's inevitable. Or plastic pipes, stuff like that. The bridge seems to be just as low as it was a few minutes ago. As though you hadn't noticed. I think I'm talking little. My nature. I've got to confess the fact that bridge and a few others was lowered in the 19th century, as formerly you had freight barges sailing there, so they're pretty much higher. That's been levelled. The street is thinner. Churches, well, the 2 we can see are very close to each other. St. Saviour's Cathedral and the Church of Our Lady. Those a long time ago were simply chapels that became those churches at the end. Being Roman Catholic, they've all got both the cross as well as the cockerel, you see, the weather vane. And it's due east for the time being. There was a cold winter, I remember, in 1963. The sea was frozen solid as far as you could see. That's in 1947, the coldest of previous century. Now this winter was nothing at all. Hardly a few flakes of snow, and it hardly froze at all. So nobody was able to skate. The last time that occurred was in 1997, incidentally. Now this is shallow water, which is fresh rather than brackish. It doesn't reek the way it used to. And fish live in these waters. I think herons and cormorants. So do I. They can be cantankerous though. And they're moody, you know. Look at the ridge of that roof. See? Well, I think I impressed me willy-nilly. Plane trees, as you can assume, love water, of course. I don't know whether the houses love water as much as their streets. Nonetheless, they've been they've been there, of course, for centuries, as you can easily imagine. Privately owned, those houses are. Not many of them are on the market, as most of those are handed down, quite understandably. And people, hence the cranes, restore them. I see that people are given grants. With that dirt, that drake on one leg, that is amazing. I have little gardens around too. There's always some work to be done. Look at the wash of waves. I like the topiary seen there. The large house, nothing really interesting, was a tannery. Which you have to know, 19th century. And as there aren't any leaves yet, we can see more things, such as there, for instance. Notice a spire, the chimney, the terrace, that looks like a pulpit. Or these flying swans of bronze. The bay window. Little garden, the door is open. Yes, it is indeed. Have a look at the garden there. Oh, a tiny window in the corner of that building, just beyond the bridge. A little spy window or Judas. I'm sure you'd like to know it. It might make your day, might it? This is narrow, isn't it? Was your house, incidentally, like the one there built on the bridge? Having to walk up and down, imagine, from dawn to dusk. Have you thought of that? I'm afraid though it's not my house, I wouldn't actually know. It is beyond doubt an oddity, for they're again made by hand. And get along with it. By hand. The only machine available. Many, many hands. And their hearts, oh yes. Before reaching that house, we'll catch a glimpse of the steeple of the Church of Our Lady we saw earlier. But it's on that side to port and, as you notice, slightly behind us. So there is the giant. It never rains here. And it simply can't. Have a look, there are 3 bridges. The one with stalactites, this one, the oldest centre, where the stream leaps over the water, hence and in caves, these stalactites. The rings of wrought iron, and there are plenty of others, that were of course used to moor all kinds of shallow drafted vessels sailing here over centuries. There were only trees on this spot, no buildings of any kind ever. I think I'm glad to mention. The trees are fairly young, are limes or lindens. That's great. Part of the job. And it's a fairly quiet day, but of course being Monday and it's March, so not a lot more. The horses were there long before those motor cars, obviously. Now let's have a look at a recently restored former Carthusian convent beyond the meeting Willow. The building of the flag, that is there. Have a look at the brick. I mean, everything's done so meticulously, done carefully. The building, I suppose, that you the one facing us there with a spire, the guild's house of the tanners, who's been restored, as you can tell. I mean, I didn't mention dates, people forget them, so do I. It's been there, of course, for donkeys, so have I. Now, the little spire you can vaguely see, or hardly at all actually, beyond a tree, that little thing that looks like a pepper mill, according to me, is the Holy Blood Chapel. Now that one's undercroft or crypt, which is Norman, is absolutely worth seeing. Tiny thing, well, it's hidden by the trees, some hollow knife finger over there somewhere. What you can see without any difficulty is the belfry. Now, the point is, it's got nothing to do with the church, nor in the past either. It is indeed a secular building, either one of Wipers or Ghent, to give you an idea. The steeple of the cloth hole was also a watchtower. And the thing worth doing by this kind of weather would be to scale the spire up to the bells. The view from there is absolutely breathtaking. So is the climb, incidentally. It'll keep you busy to reach those bells. The medieval lift is never out of order. As many steps, if not to know, as there are days in the leap year. Quite challenging. And back on Earth, have a look at the wall. That reminds me of the bow of a ship. This wall. And the river is like an eel, isn't it? Some yellow pansies, aren't they nice? I'm not a very fast driver, I suppose you've noticed.
Yep.
Not a kind of Jeremy Clarkson. Michael Schumacher. Not at all like For those still listening, there is a building bearing a date about, I wonder what time in English, the building with a date on that side. Well, the numerals composing 16 or 714 are tie bars, and they were nailed to beams of oak. So the tie bars and timber tie hold the walls together, and as you realise, separate the stories of the building. Other dated building follows on the same side. And those buildings, well, the whole lot's been restored, were part of the core. The little spires that are so fascinating are dovecots. They were meant for carrier pigeons donkeys years ago. And bricks of about every size and colour appear. They came from kilns all over the area. Well, floodings occur, that's the thing you can't avoid. A problem, as you can assume, for cellars. There's being cellar doors. But you know, you can't see the cellars, but they're vaults. Some also have columns, hidden masterpieces, and ancient of course. You can add a few things if you like. What is this? It doesn't matter what you say, sound convincing. It's not a politician, you know. Whatever rubbish you might say. And by the way, I wonder when the ring's seen there, that wrought iron ring at the base of the bridge, was the very first and last time, and the ring remains, maybe after centuries. There it is. Who made it? There's also one that turned upside down, just at water level there. I like the little garden, but I'm sure so do you, the one on that side. There's also a little house, which is quite charming, although I'm afraid that's not my house, no it isn't. There's no point in whinging, but that's how it is. All privately owned houses. There's a donkey in the window there. And there's more than one lot. Well, there's only one here. That's a bit odd, isn't it? That's a kind of a hare, that's a nice little balcony there. That's a hare, I think so. Yeah. A large hare. I like the little dwelling with its tall chimneys they're restoring it to. If that little house were yours, would you sell it? Unless at your passing by somebody else, of course, in that case. Look at those little houses. You don't need words to understand all that, just take it in. You might be able to see a garden, well, the garden beyond that open door, if anything is visible. Oh, yes, tiny garden. And there's a buddleia growing up there, have a look there, that fascinating butterfly. Boy, it's quite astonishing, isn't it? The Lord God waters it, it's well organised here now. Oh, that's the canal heading to Ghent. Fine city, incidentally, too. Ghent. Rising more over there. As well as the North Sea, that's the direction too. North Sea. So it's your first time here? No, worst place is the world. And have a look how few people, if any at all, are walking here. I mean, are they scared of me? I wonder. They've all vanished, melted into thin air all of a sudden. I mean, there's nobody left. Aren't we gregarious? That little church is a work of art. St. Anne's over there. There is a lace centre a few yards away from the church, but there are also a couple of windmills. Well, 4 remain, to give you an idea. Nice area, but known to nobody. Have a look. You seem to be the only ones around here for the time being.